welcome to Hidden Sparks. On Hidden Sparks, we'll let you know the story of ordinary people making extraordinary change. On Hidden Sparks today, I have very interesting gentleman, a very intriguing story. My name is Jake Epelle. I'm your host on Hidden Spark. Help me welcome an enigma, a legal practitioner, a politician whose reputation precedes him. Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Olisa Metuh.
Thank you.
Very difficult to catch you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, I want you to remember something as I begin to look at the issues of your life that sparks the challenges, but opportunities that people are celebrating you today. Remember the day you were born.
Yes, of course, I do.
What story did your mom tell you about a significant event that changed your entire life? Can you remember?
Well, not really a significant event when I was born. It was just that my dad got married late and they needed to have a son. I mean, the old order, the way he was with Igbo race then, not now. And he had the first child, female. The second child, female. So they were a bit worried, and they had me a boy. They had the third one, female. So I was kind of special when I was young. But it made me grow up amongst women. I used to play the games that they would play. You know, there's one they call Oga. They call the hair. Take the hair. And Swell and the rest of them. I used to play with the girls because I grew up among my sisters.
Interesting. You are from Newi.
Yes, I am.
A community that is known for business. And oftentimes, many of them, they do go to school. I mean, I have some friends from Newi who are very highly educated. And you happen to be one of them that is also highly educated. How come you chose education in place of business?
Well, the truth is that there are more educated people in Newi than most other towns in Nigeria. Newi, the most populous inland town in Nigeria. But because, let's say, 70%, 80% educated people are more than the 100% of the other places. But our people have chosen to be entrepreneurs, to imbibe the spirit of hard work and to work and make things up. Yes, Newi is known for that. For me, I had no choice. My dad was a lawyer. My mom was a headmistress. So growing up then, there's absolutely no way I could have refused to go to school and have chosen to be a businessman at that young age. Definitely not my choice there.
So did your parents' education, a lawyer, a teacher, did it in any way influence you and brought you to where you are today?
Yes, the training that we had. You see, unlike this present day when you have the children, they beat soft and they beat, how do I say it? They're not made that strong the way they were. So I think having a strict dad, I had a very strict dad. My dad used to punish me at the slightest opportunity. My dad would kneel me down in front of our gate and help me to carry a signboard,
Wow.
a slate.
Wow.
And write whatever I committed or whatever, if I put it there. My dad will come to school, come to CKC where I was in school, check my corner, check my box, and maybe my clothes were not ironed and well placed. I just put my things there. And I was only in Form 1 or Form 2. And he would flog me in front of the students. So that discipline, I had it. My mom was a headmistress. And she really, really insisted on the things that I do.
Now tell me, this is quite interesting. Can you remember one of the things you did? Maybe some very, very embarrassing situation that you were flogged for. Did you feel?
No, definitely no.
Ish from the board?
No, definitely no. So I was quite well mannered and I had values when I was growing up. But I used to play a lot. So one day I was playing. My dad then was a lawyer, but the chairman of ABS in the old Anambra state, Anambra Broadcasting Corporation. So as I was playing football during prep, during studies or prep, I was playing football with some other kids. So the ball fell by the roadside, and I saw one car, a 504 saloon, stop. It wasn't our car, so I didn't know it was my dad. And I was busy trying to query the man why he would stop and be disturbing us when we were playing football. And out came my dad. Wow. My dad's 6'2", tall, huge, Barrister Metuh. The fear of Barrister Metuh is the beginning of wisdom for everyone around them. And he came out and he just held me and took me to my hostel. Checked my corner, it was not it was not dressed. Checked my bed, checked my box, it was not well packaged. And he logged me in front of the whole school. And I was a laughing stock for a long time.
You still remember that?
I remember that very well.
Now tell me about this. Is it you are the only male child, right?
For a while.
For a while. So the other ones, oh yeah, they came later.
Yeah.
When we were receiving all this flogging and thrashing, you were the only male child.
No, then I had the other kids.
Okay.
But I was I was quite stubborn growing up. My name is Olisa Metuh. So you see, they say you take after your name. So my name is Olisa Metuh.
What's the meaning of that?
Olisa Metuh Olisa is like a god or something. It's like you can't talk to God in a harsh tone. You can't query God. You cannot fight God. God is a warrior, so you can't fight God. Olisa Metuh, you can't try it. And that's how my life has been all my life. So I used to be quite stubborn when I was younger. When I was in school, secondary school, primary school, I was okay. Because my mom had a very big influence on me. So I was quite well behaved. But I lost my mom when I just finished my primary school. And we did the burial. And immediately after the burial, I went to secondary school within 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the burial. So I didn't have that motherly supervision or control. So I was in CKC, so I used to go and watch a lot of cinemas. So it really affected me, the way I used to behave then. So my father decided to be strict, very, very strict. And some of the things that I'll do, he chose to correct me in a harsh way. Looking back on it, I didn't like it then. Sometimes I query myself, are you sure this man is my father? And this man is so mean. Are you sure he's my dad? Are you sure that he really, really loves me? But today, I'm happy. Because growing up, when I was in law school, I finished law school. I started my law firm. I was in a partnership with people who were older than me. But I was a managing partner. I was controlling them. And anything that I did, whether it was my law practice, when I was doing shares, when I had my legend properties, or even in politics, I found myself being tough enough to stand other people, the competing interests.
Let me ask you.
I think I owe that to my dad.
Let me ask you, as a typical Igbo man that you are, and we core Igbo, would you describe yourself as very traditional?
Definitely no. I have my own principles about life. People value money, not wealth. I don't value money. I don't value wealth. People are traditional the way they choose to treat their wives. I don't do that. People are traditional. They choose to acquire their wealth and put premium on it and respect it. I don't do that. So I don't think I'm traditional, but I am traditional when it comes to helping people, when it comes to building on community interest and service. I'm quite traditional there. And that's why I am arguably the youngest traditional ruler in the history of Nnewi.
Oh, wow.
I was only 36 or 37 when I was given the chieftaincy title of Ugochi Debel Nnewi, way back in 2003.
You have seen the good things of life. You've also seen the other part of it.
Yeah.
Would you describe yourself as a very rich man?
Very rich in terms of joy.
In terms of money?
In terms of money, no, because I don't value money. I don't value wealth.
So would you
Not what do I eat 3 times a day? I do. Okay, let me tell you what. In the midst of my problems and what I was going through, I still kept my commitments. One, to God, in terms of paying my tithes. I pay tithes. That's what saves me every time. In my contributions to the benevolence, to charity, to everything, to community service, I kept everything. Last week, I think I gave my people, apart from the scholarship I extended, because I had a younger brother, Senator Ifeanyoba, who just died, and he had been taken.
You related?
We are from the same community, Umanuka. We're at the same place, Umanuka, and we are almost like the same kindred, and we're quite close. So I never bothered with the problems of our community because he was there. I mean, you don't have two captains in the ship. I was more interested in national politics. He was more interested in helping the people. So he needed to do that community service. But I don't need to do that community service even up to today. But just to try and fill the big shoes that he left behind. Last week, I gave scholarships and I gave interest-free loans to a lot of people in my place. And I did that not because I have, but because I think a lot of people need to be helped. Not because I have too much, no.
Quite interesting. We're going to delve into the journey of this fine gentleman, well pushed up, but who says he doesn't really like money? Can you please tell him?
I didn't say that.
Give us some of the money.
No, I didn't say that I didn't like.
You don't love money, but you like money.
Do not value money. Our people who worked with me, people who have worked with me, people who have done business with me will tell you that. I've never quarreled with someone about business. I've never struggled with land with anybody. I've never bothered to acquire. If we're going to have problems with the business, take it. God will bring my own. I've faced challenges where I've practically lost all that I've acquired, and I give it to God, and God will replenish. So at all times, I have my faith in God that God will provide for me.
We're coming to that. Let's go and talk with this fine gentleman, how he ended up in a place that he never bargained. Welcome back to Hidden Facts. Let's talk to Olisa. Tell me, a smart politician, you moved from nowhere and became a national figure, speaking for the president, and all of a sudden, something went wrong. How did that change your life?
Okay, first, I didn't come from nowhere. I was tutored. From 1999, I was a member of National Executive Committee and I served at different levels. So I got institutional knowledge of the party, and I was ex-official. I served as youth leader at some point in the Southeast. Then I became national auditor. I became national vice chairman and ended up as national public secretary. And when I was national public secretary, I tried to serve the interest of my party very well. How did I end up where I ended up, or the problem that I had? I think that after we lost the election, I felt that people didn't appreciate our party and they didn't understand that. And there were gaps. We had a conflict where the people who were in the villa did not really understand that they needed the party to go along. I see it happening even now, the present APC. I see the same mistake that we made, that the presidency made when we were in power. They're making it now. You need the party. You need to have a strong party, and you need to carry the party along when you're doing that. I see the same mistake. So when we lost the election, I felt that was a lapse. So I was consumed with the idea of building a very, very strong party. So I kept bringing to the fore, challenging the government about the things they were doing. I was more interested in bringing about the policies, the alternatives to the policies and the programs that they had, and to showcase that they were not prepared for governance. That's what I wanted to do. But at the same time, I was still trying to rebuild our party. So we had a lot of people who had left our party that I was talking with about bringing them up. And we're doing quite well. We're really reorganizing the party, and we're preparing for our convention in March. Then January, the struck. I was arrested. A lot of people warned me then about the dangers, about provoking the government and how the government can silence you, how they can fight you. But I felt I had an office. I had a duty to do. If I was not capable of doing it, I should resign. I'll tell you a story. Digress. There was someone that they arrested in our Sokoro. So they were arrested him, DSSS surrounded his house and whatever. I felt that was not a good way to do in a democracy. It's not a good way to do it, whatever. So I was about going there to leave my house to go. My wife was worried. My siblings were worried. They said I couldn't go. I'd call the press to assemble the guys. Also, I'd do a live interview. And they called even my pastor, Pastor Israel, to come and speak with me. So when the pastor came, because now I listened to him, he said, no, your wife is worried. The government will be provoked. I said to him, listen, if you don't want me to go, let me resign as National Public Secretary. I have a duty to protect the PDP then. I was in active politics then. If I'm not going to protect them or do my service, do you want me to resign? So he understood my passion and he allowed me to go. And I went that day and I did a live interview. I challenged the government, and within 2 hours, the DSS knew they had to vacate that place. They had to leave. Don't forget that the DSS director then, had challenged him that he was a member of the APC. And when he said he wasn't a member, I provided evidence that he was the chairman of their security committee when they were doing campaign. So there were a whole lot. I don't want to go into what happened, but I believe that President Jonathan wanted to deepen democracy and democratic practice. But the government that came after him did not care about democratic practice. They camouflaged it into a campaign against corruption. And they really, really took us backwards in terms of the tenets of democracy, democratic practice. To uphold it in this country, they took us way backwards. That is exactly what happened. So I was warned in Lagos, in everywhere I was warned, but I didn't hear. And the government came up with a trumped-up charge. I say trumped-up because they know the truth. Everybody knew the truth. I still met with the DSS director, DG afterwards. I met with everybody that was anybody in APC, and all I was told is, okay, resign from PDP, join APC, we'll stop. In my place where I come from in Nnewi, when you go to a Mona meeting, you see people who cannot feed themselves and who you train their children in school. But when you tell them to do something that I agree with you, they look at you and they say they will never. In my place, somebody would be hungry. They are not eating for 2 days, and he would refuse to eat any food that you throw at him. That's the dignity of our people, to uphold the dignity of man. So I felt he was not really a cowardice, but it's like killing the man in me to say I was leaving PDP to join APC so that they'll stop the prosecution. So I didn't bother with that. I refused to, and I really refused to. But something happened. I'm going to tell you this. I've never spoken about this. Since I came out, I refused to do interviews. All the major television studios, the newspaper, I refused to do anything. But I'm going to tell you this. At a point when the government found that they could not break me, they couldn't break me, I had a resolve. Even when they arrested me, I had a resolve. I was still very strong. A friend of mine came to me and said to me that the government has sent people to UK to go and bring back my wife and arrest my wife, and she will go to prison. And I said, what's that business with? They said, no, that they want to know whether I ever transferred money to her or for this, whatever I do in the UK in the past. I said, what? I transferred through the bank.
The banks.
He said, but have you ever used Bureau de Change to transfer money? That they'll get something and say that you transferred even if it's $1,000. And they arrest her. Didn't you see what happened to Ibori? They arrest her and they send her to jail. At that point, my spirit became broken. I remembered going to this lady's house her family, her place, and saying, I want to marry her. And when I wanted to marry her, it was not to bring her into that kind of problem. So it actually broke my spirit. My friend that came to tell me, maybe he didn't realize that they planted in him to break my spirit, but he succeeded. I was completely weakened. You know, a lot of people didn't understand why all of a sudden, during that trial, I was a bit broken. It was false, but it was the thought of anything I was going through affecting my wife and my family. I didn't think it was necessary. I felt if you're fighting with a man, it's man to man. It had nothing to do with bringing your wife or your kids onto the table, in the battle or the table. We keep them by the side and then we fight. But when they went dirty, I mean, I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it. Why do I say there was a trump up charge? We went to do. I said, why am I telling you all this?
Because someone out there is watching you and getting inspired by. Because I was going to ask you actually to give me details of your prison experience.
We went to a meeting, and there was no campaign for PDP. We were in the villa and we're assessing the performance of the president. And we had talked about the issue of the Boko Haram. One or two people have floated the idea that Jonathan was the one that was causing the Boko Haram and whatever. The government was fueling it and everything. So when the issue was brought up, the committee, the president said, okay, that they were going to set up a committee and they're going to make sure that we should enlighten Nigerians and handle that.
This was President Jonathan.
President Jonathan, and handle the issue. And there were a lot of people that were there. I mean, a lot of people that never spoke up, but they were there. The President Jonathan was there. The Vice President was there. The Senate President was there. About 2 ministers were there. Secretary to Government was there. There were governors that were there. I remember Governor Lele Muke was there. I remember former Governor Peter Obi was there. There were people that were there. And I was told to handle a committee to handle that thing. That should bring a company. And then they will send money to the company, to me, but I should work with the Tony Anini, Doino Kupe, a lot of other people that were in the committees to work about how to handle this issue of this media dissemination of information and everything. Then it wasn't campaign. And I gave my company name. Incidentally, I gave a company that doesn't do business. The company that I gave was a holding company for whatever investment I've had in life. In 2001, I incorporated Destra Investment. And the shares that I had, even in the names of my kids, everything were held in the name of Destra Investment. Every single thing I've ever acquired was in Destra. So I gave the name since I felt it was just something that we do in the committee. And they paid in 400 million naira from the account of the ONSA. It was a government job that I was doing. So it was my business, whether it was I did it, we'll go to Tony Anine's house, we'll assemble, this person spend this person spend that. I was a professor. There were a lot of people that were involved. And I didn't quite handle the money, but I mean, we did it as a committee. So the government knew the story and they knew even when they arrested me. And I told them the truth. But then because they were fighting corruption, all this year, Olisa Metuh took 400 million naira. The whole country started. But it was not only to douse against what I was doing in the public, against the government in terms of challenging them in the media, but it was more because of the rebuilding that I was doing, without trying to be modest, that I was doing about PDP then. There was nobody, no governor, no stakeholder that left the party that I didn't consult about rebuilding the party before I was arrested. We'll have meetings in Nigeria, in Abuja, in Lagos, in Dubai, in Switzerland, in London. I was very active in trying to rebuild the party. And if I don't blame them, if the president did not arrest me, President Buhari will not have been able to put himself for re-election. It would have been impossible. The way we were going, it would have been impossible. I'm not talking about discrediting the government, but would have shown Nigerian people that he didn't have he didn't have the wherewithal, he didn't have the knowledge, he had the understanding, he didn't have the wisdom to handle the economy, the country, politically and socially. He didn't have anything to handle it, and it would have been possible for him to present, because we're really tackling him. We're not insulting him, but we're challenging him on issues, and they were empty. They were completely empty then, because we're.
So do you think, because this is quite interesting, an untold story, an aspect you haven't even spoken to anyone.
I'm not spoken to
Right.
anyone about.
Yeah. So I like to know what the prison experience was and how that changed your life. Because I'm sure you came back a totally changed person.
I'll tell you something. The greatest speech Martin Luther ever gave was the night before he died, before they killed him. And he said, every now and then, I think about my own death. Then he went on to say, I have seen the mountain top. I may not get there with you, but we as a people will get there. I have seen the mountain top. I had been to the mountain top, but I went to the lowest level of the valley, the prison. I mean, when I was sentenced wrongly, when my classmate decided to use me to progress his own judicial career, or for whatever reason, I was wrongly convicted. When I got to the prison, my spirit was strong, because 3 days before that judgment, I was prepared. I decided to prepare myself. I brought some Christian ministers, and to come and do praise and worship and whatever. So for like 72 hours, we were doing non-stop praise, non-stop worship. I was sleeping in my pool house. Anybody that came see me would come there and join us, and they'll go. At night, we sleep there, again, take a shower, come non-stop for 72 hours. So I was strong. My spirit was strong. And when he convicted me, I knew God would protect me, so I was strong. So when I got to prison, I was put in a cell where there were 8 people. And there was an instruction to put me on the double bunk. The young man that was downstairs said, no, I should come down. The prison authority said, never. He must stay on top. So I used to climb double bunk at primary school. I mean, we had a room that was like this, from here to this whole place. And there were 8 of us. The toilet was by the corner. The shower was by the corner. So if the people that are there, if they're going to the toilet, we'll be there, and the person is going to the toilet. We'll just squat there and be going to the toilet. It was no seat, it was a squat. We'll be going to the toilet, and we'll be there. But I was strong in my spirit. I felt that they would not break my spirit. And this is only for a while. I remember the in charge of the prison, that's what we used to call it then, the person that was in charge of the prison, asking one of my aides, what drug exactly do I take? I'm on a drug. They said, no, he takes X-Forge, and what they say, no, that's what I mean. What hard drugs does he take? That the guy keeps on laughing. Very strong and very active. He should be broken, but I wasn't broken because God prepared me coming there. In prison, I was humbled when I was in Kuje. I was praying with, playing with, studying with, doing programs, and interacting with people who, before then, I could have considered way below me. But I think that in prison, God brought me to the realization that we are all equal, and we're all human beings, and we are the same before God. So that has changed my perspective and the way I behave. Sometimes when I move around, either I dress or how I appear, people will say, well, I just laugh at them. I mean, a few years ago, there'll be 20 of us in one room. or be talking or be doing all this. I mean, the caliber of people that I'll be dealing with were ordinarily before they'll say, how dare you come near me or whatever. But God brought me to the realization that all human beings are equal. You might be privileged or fortunate enough to have been blessed by God early. But the other man that didn't have that opportunity is not worse than you. You're not better than him. And I realized that a lot of people were in prison wrongly. A lot of people didn't have opportunity of making it in life. So as I came out, I got emboldened to direct my wife's foundation to an area where it had to do with prison ministry.
Access to justice.
Access to justice.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been doing quite well.
Exactly.
And I think
I agree with you.
Let me explain. Sorry, I need to say this information.
Go ahead.
When you read the Bible, it says that God knows tomorrow for yesterday, so God prepares. For about 15 years, when I had the encounter and I started paying my tithe, God made me to start keeping a percentage of whatever money I held. I mean, I had one for, like, if you give me 1 million today, just like in the past almost 18 years, I don't have access to the 1 million. I have only like 550. 450 will go to tithes, benevolence, charity, building work, scholarship for the community. So the one that went to charity went directly to my wife to handle. So by the time I came out, irrespective of whether I was working or wasn't working then, she had enough to fund her. She still has enough to fund her whatever, because I worked hard as a young man even before politics.
Let me ask you, Chief, when you were in prison, for one who you literally stake your life for the survival of your party and some politicians that made it to where they are. Now, let me ask you, did he visit you in the prison?
You know, when you take a position because of your belief and your principle, not for individuals. Human beings will always fail you. Arm of flesh will always fail you. It's God who is in heaven will protect you. So I never expected anybody. I think that my president, I think he's still my president. I really, really like him. I love him. He's a decent, humble man. He didn't get across. I remember when I was arrested the first time, my wife calling him and saying, "You've been talking with my husband. I was even there when he would call you and be discussing about this money and what will happen. Why don't you speak about this thing and say that you have it?" Say to her, "My sister, it's not me it's not your husband, it's me that after. I don't know that chasing my wife, that doing all this, that doing that." So everyone has his own. Everyone has his own fault. I took the bullet for what I believed in. Not on behalf of anybody. Not on behalf of anybody. Not on behalf of the party. But on principle, what I believe. I didn't do anything. So it was practically why I did what I did and why I stood what I stood. But I'll tell you something. I think that I wronged President Jonathan. The Olisa Metuh I know would have taken whatever pressure that was thrown at him without going to the extent of calling President Jonathan to come and testify or doing that. I think my legal team insisted, and I told them I will never. I told them to keep him out of there, that I'll take it. But one day in court, as the man was querying, "Who is your next?" My lawyer said, "President Jonathan," after we had decided that we're not going to call him. And I mean, I don't speak, he's my lawyer. So it now became that I was going to call him as a witness. I think it was a wrong idea, because if you're a commander-in-chief, I was commander-in-chief of that sector. I didn't need to bring anyone along to what I was facing.
But did you come?
Was part of, well, when my lawyer said so, and the whole press carried it, I mean, we had to serve him. So I went to him and I told him that this is not what I want. But I mean, that's what they've done. I don't know what to do about it. Do you understand? That is not really what I want. A lot of people were offended, rightly. It was improper. It was wrong.
But he didn't show
It
up.
was cowardly. Forget about whether he showed up or not. The most important thing is that what I did was wrong. I should never have called Jonathan to come and testify. He was my president. He was nice to me. He showed me love. I mean, his wife was one of my best friends. His wife a liking to me, and I respect her and I love her forever. So I think it was wrong of me to start naming the name of Jonathan. It was wrong. And technically, on technicalities, his lawyer then, his SAN then, now put up a protest that he is willing to show up, but I needed to pay the cost of his coming at 1.2 billion. So, I mean, that was smart. He was very, Osakome, he was very smart, a very smart lawyer. So at that point, it was impossible. But my lawyers had, because collectively we had done the damage of trying to call him. There was no need, absolutely no reason why we should have named Jonathan to come and testify or to come and be. No, he was wrong. If there's a bullet, I should take it alone.
That's very humbling. That you took that decision in the midst of your pain.
Yeah.
And an opportunity that probably would have exonerated you somehow, But let's talk about your post-prison experience. After all that experience, especially with President Jonathan, have you gone to see him? Have you guys
several times in his house and seeing him and talking with him? I talk to mommy. I call her mommy. She calls me Abarojo.
Okay, so Chief, tell me, who in Buhari's administration did you think were after you? And have you forgiven them?
I've forgiven everyone. I have no doubt about it.
Including President Buhari?
Yes.
Did you ever meet him?
Never.
Did you ever want to meet him?
Never.
Why?
There was no need to. We crossed the line. There was no need to. I didn't believe that he was
capable.
No, let me not go there. I'm not in politics anymore, so I'm not going to go there. But I didn't think that it was ripe for him to be president at that time. And I still think the mistake was done by some of the things that we did wrongly. Because the PDP was not so pure then. And we made some mistakes. And brothers were fighting, we had been fighting, and he opened the gates for the enemies to come and capture all of us. And that's what happened. They won the war, but they didn't go ahead to govern. They decided to treat some of us as prisoners of war, even without respecting the terms of prisoners of war, whatever that's been signed about how they behave. We were treated like people who were captured in war. Well, they were military people. President was a military person. That's how he treated us. No, but there was someone that was close to the government that I had vilified when I was public secretary a lot. So when I had my problem, I have to say this because I think I owe it to him and I owe it to God to say how good people can be even when you don't understand them. And he sent the then Speaker of the House to Femi Gbajabiamila to meet with me. So Femi took me to him. And he really, really wanted to help. He really tried to help me. And I couldn't understand. He's someone who I had abused, insulted, done everything against as public secretary. I met him about 5-6 times. And the last time I saw him, because he said he was going to speak to them, he said, there's nothing that you did.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, how could you, what the chief of DSS said then, everybody in his government knew there was nothing. Said there's nothing, but you're a stubborn boy. You don't listen, you'll be fighting. Your people are surrendered and you're still fighting. Now let's do it. He tried to reach across. Then he went to see the chief of staff to Buhari then. That was when he was still alive, the former chief of staff to the president, the one that died. And he said, okay, we'll try and sort it out. The last time I came to see him, the man that was trying to help me, he couldn't look me in the eyes. I went with my younger brother. He couldn't look me in the eyes. He just bent down and saying, well, I don't know what you did to them, but God takes care of everybody. You just have to be strong. Let's see what happens. And he didn't look at me. He was just face that was talking with me. While I was going, I turned to my younger brother. I said, I'm going to prison. I'm going to prison. But I always knew that I was going to go to prison because 2 months after they arrested me, a man of God who is a Geo, overseer, went to meet with someone who is high in government. I don't want to call names. Very, very high. When you count fingers, you count him. I said to him, why are you doing this to Olisa Metuh? You know, there is nothing that he did. Why is your government doing that? And he said to him, it's difficult for us to stop. We already had conviction. He's going to be convicted. And we need that win against him to establish anti-corruption and against his party. The idea then was the judgment to come before the 2019 election. And they were going to ban PDP and claiming that it was money that was given to PDP, which PDP had nothing to do with it. So it was all contrived.
Now, tell me, what has all of this done to you? You left the prison, you saw people that found themselves there for no reason. What are you doing to correct some of those? And what are the challenges that you want to solve?
So when I came out first, I employed some of the people that I met there because I learned there were people, the way that it happens in this country is that if you don't have money and you don't have someone speaking for you, if you have a little problem, they throw you in prison. And you will be there for a while. They keep adjourning your court cases. Either they say they don't have the file or for whatever reason, and you could be awaiting trial for 4 years, 5 years for a crime that maybe could have given you 1 year, one year imprisonment, but you'll be there for about 5 years. So it really, really affected me. I employed some of them, and at the end of the day, I decided to take up the challenge of trying to help people. No man can help or change the system, but I think my wife is doing quite a lot. She's done a bill that she met with the National Assembly and it's gone through first reading about this access to justice. She's met with the minister, she's met with the prison authorities, she's really driving it. So if we can change the system, and instead of people going to court for some little crimes, if it's something that can be handled immediately and not like giving them, sending them to prison, having non-custodial measures, alternative, yes, it resolution really help them. Non-custodial, you can convict someone, say, okay, you're guilty, but the person does not go to prison. They can do community service. They can do a whole lot of things. So we are working on it. My wife is working on it. I'm not involved.
You decided to just, sometimes you announce you're exiting politics, but you seems to be politically relevant and influential to the point that the sitting president had you in his office. Are you going to quit politics?
It's difficult to quit politics, but I quit partisan politics 3 years ago. But we're all in politics, we're all political animals. We all get involved in what is happening in this country. You are staff, these people here, who are tweeting, who are texting, they're in politics. Pastor Jake, you are in politics. But you're not partisan. So it's difficult to quit politics. But I quit partisan politics 3 years ago.
On a final note, look into that camera and talk to the younger person out there who is looking at Olisa Metuh, who saw the height and the height you're still there, and think that is an easy journey. What would you say to them that are looking at you now and say, this man is rich, is comfortable, is good looking, he has money. How did he make the money? So I'm going to make money just like him. Overnight success. What would you say to the Gen Zs who are watching you? I didn't have the time. I would have delved into the role your wife played. She's my heroine when it comes to that. But that's for another day. Tell me.
Talking about my wife, let me tell you an image that will never clear from me. My daughter was ill in the UK and my wife was in hospital with her. So I was ill. I couldn't move my legs. I had a problem. All those things that they say, I didn't want to talk about it. So I was in Nnamdi Azikiwe Teaching Hospital and I was in ICU and there were people dying every day in the ICU. Every morning they'll come and clear the cups, one or two. But I was there for a couple of days. Then they moved me to UNTH. After a while, my wife came from the UK. Her daughter being very ill in hospital, she came out of there with that and she came to University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital. And there were no beds. So where I was staying, she was lying on the floor. She brought her bed. She would sleep on the floor and every morning she would wipe my clothes. She would wipe my body and everything. She really, really went through a lot. But those things I didn't want to talk about it. But talking about Gen Zs, I'll start by saying what my father taught me when I was young. More things are wrought by prayers than this world thinks of. Lord Alfred Tennessee said so, and it's true. Sometimes we think that is our own doing, our own strength, but when you pray to God, when you have faith in God, He will take care of you. But most importantly, you must be honest. Integrity matters. Hard work matters. And if you are thinking of going into politics, make sure that you have a second address. Politics can never give you money. And if you make money from politics, 2 years after politics, you'll be poor. Look at some of the people that have gone to National Assembly or been taking positions. 2, 3 years after, they don't have anything. So before you decide to make politics your career, have a secondary address. Have something that you're doing. For some of us, I was very busy as a lawyer, real estate consultant, and a lot of other things. I don't want to talk about.
Have you written a book? Have you written a book?
I've not written a book, but Pastor Jake, do you know that because of PDP, when I was national vice chairman, I broke up my business I was the first to start selling properties in Dubai, even before First Properties. I was the first. I was the first, Legend Holding Care. I was the first. I had a company in Dubai, and I was taking Nigerians to go and sell properties to them, bringing them here and doing marketing, sales, and everything.
So most of your wealth didn't even come from, it had nothing to do with politics.
I don't know about wealth. Let's say feeding, not wealth.
Okay. Whatever definition, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching Hidden Spots. Today, you've heard the story, very inspiring story of Chief Olisa Metuh. And, on this program, watching us, he is the ebony and I'm the ivory. My name is Ambassador Jake Epelle. See you on the next episode.